ways you can sport it in addition to using the vetted sportsbooks on our website, offshoreinsiders.com. Now, my wife's got a couple of businesses that do pretty well, Duffy Cents and Duffy Gifts. Let me tell you a little bit about the Duffy Cents before we get to your free pick and a bunch of other. We're going to talk about who have been the best teams in the NFL this year, over and under, betting from a total standpoint. Duffy Cents, my wife is an authorized dealer for Scentsy, and although they don't promote themselves as one of those aromatherapy sites, for me, I don't know if it's a placebo or if there's something scientific to it, but in 2020, a stress-filled year, some of these scents really, really do seem to relax and calm me. Our favorite scents so far have been vanilla buttercream and cinnamon bear. They do change them on a somewhat regular basis. Right now, first time ever, I'm using apple and oats. And again, fantastic for your home, your office, your car. Duffy Scents, as in the smell, Scents, SCENTS.com. All right, let's get to your free winner. I'll do that up front for tonight, 6:30 Eastern start. Philadelphia -3 against Orlando. And this gets back to some of our very, very, very basics. You know, I could almost tell this story every day. In fact, I could tell this story every day when you include my premium picks. When I first got started as a handicapper, I already was an amateur handicapper for the longest time, but a guy by the name of the Dutchman, if you've been on the score phones for years and years and years, I think in 1988 when I first got started, he's like, you know, the lines are always telling you something. Listen to what the odds makers are telling you. Stuff along those lines. I've heard other people say that. Now, what the hell does that mean? It's a nice cliche, but with computers, they've been able to quantify it. And here is a system that, again, does kind of fit under that rule, or as I say, use the odds makers' knowledge against them. The Magic, they're 4-0 straight up, yet they're home underdogs. An angle that says to fade home underdogs is 446, 324, that says to fade hot home underdogs. I better go back and edit that on joeduffy.net. I left that important word out, but it says to fade hot home underdogs is 446, 324, and 22. Away favorites against undefeated teams, a very solid 40, 32, and 2 in the history of my database. So that's kind of rare, but it's a nice winning percentage. The more disappointing offense based on delta points scored, you go with them. 407, 306, and 14. Now, again, delta points scored is how many points they scored relative to the odds makers posted total. Again, if the, and I didn't even, let's see, we figured, I don't know, whatever. If the team's total is 110 and they score 114 points, that would be +4 delta points. If they scored 106, that would be -4 delta points scored. So that's where that stat comes from. Orlando's 4-0 ATS, covering by an average of 9.4 points per game, yet the Sixers are 2-2, -3.5 ATS margin. But again, a regression to the mean angle based on the ATS margin says go with a much worse spread team. 256, 196, and 6. Joel Embiid is expected back for the Sixers. I know he was a fairly late scratch the other night. Terrence Moore is out for the Magic. Now, Moore is averaging 28, Terrence Ross. Did I say Terrence Moore? Terrence Moore is a writer here based out of Atlanta. Anyway, Ross is averaging 28 minutes per game, 11.1 points. Embiid is, of course, Philly's best player. And let's get back to the Terrence Ross. That's another thing that I found out. When a guy like Embiid, if you know a star player is going to be out, of course, the lines over adjust. But somebody like a Terrence Ross, that's kind of an injury that can sneak under the odds maker's radar. He's a valuable player, but he's not a superstar. And really, although, again, people look for the sexier injuries, you know, the star players. Is Embiid playing from a value standpoint? The fact that Ross is not playing is arguably every bit as important, maybe even more important, again, from a value standpoint. Who have been the best over teams in the NFL this year? Yeah, we're entering the final week of the year, but this is important with a lot of these teams will be going to the playoffs. Tennessee's going over 11-3-1 this year. Look, I'll admit I was wrong about Ryan Tannehill. I thought he was going to be, I thought he was a one-year wonder, you know, rode the honeymoon, but he's been tremendous. Anyway, they've gone over by an average of 6.7 points per game. Minnesota over 10-5, 5.9 points per game margin. Dallas over 9-6 plus 5.7. Vegas, based on record, has been the top over team, going over 11-3-1, but the fourth best margin of over, going over by an average of 5.6 points per game. Then Buffalo, another quarterbacker, I guess I was kind of a little bit wrong about Allen. He's going over 9-5-1 plus 4.2. I've been right and wrong. I've been right a lot more often than I've been wrong as far as saying which quarterbacks were and were not going to be bust and all that. All right, who have been the top under teams? Giants have gone under 12 of 15 games this year by an average of -6 points per game relative to the total. Rams under 11 out of 15, minus 4.6. Miami under 9-6, minus 3.2. New England, in terms of record, has been one of the top under teams in the NFL, tied with Rams in terms of record, but they've only gone under by an average of 2.5 points per game. Again, we appreciate it if you would like and subscribe wherever you're listening. We're on a couple different platforms, or give us a heart. This is your way of telling the search engines and the actual providers that this is good content and they should give it more exposure. We totally appreciate if you do that. And again, visit offshoreinsiders.com for the best sports picks, thoroughly vetted sports books, and again, from a non-sports and non-gambling way, show your support and get great products. I mean, again, I use the Duffy scent stuff in all my waking hours. I burn the stuff, or it's called a warmer, I guess. But anyway, love the smell in my home office. DuffyGifts.com, especially, you know, when you return to sports for tailgate parties. The thing I like the most, well, I'm a food snob, and it's a great way to keep food and beverages warm. They got some stuff like that. A lot of other stuff at DuffyGifts.com. And Happy New Year to everybody.